Well, welcome to my little museum here of curiosities and scientific memorabilia. And I've taken one item out there to show you. Here it is. It is pretty, isn't it? This is a Lampe Berger. We'll get back to that because therein lies a story. One of my scientific heroes is Humphrey Davey, because he was really the first publicizer of science. In the early 1800s, the public flocked to his lectures at the Royal Institution in London, and he would talk to them about the history of science, discoveries, and carry out all kinds of demonstrations. But Humphrey Davey also was interested in practical phenomena. And at the time, miners were very concerned about explosions in coal mines, because a gas, they called fire damp, we know it as methane, would seep out of the coal seams, and it would catch fire, and there would be terrible explosions. How would it catch fire? Because in those days, before electric lamps, miners carried either kerosene lamps or candles. Well, Humphrey Davey took on the challenge of finding a way to minimize these explosions. And eventually he figured that if a flame were surrounded by some wiring, then the flame would not go through the wires and there would be no explosion. Well, during this experimentation, he found a very interesting phenomenon. When he was working with a platinum wire, he heated it in a flame and surrounded by the fire damp, that is by methane, and even when the flame went out, the platinum wire continued to glow. This was an amazing phenomenon. To him, this looked to be magical. In fact, he used that word, magical. He didn't really realize it at that time, but he had discovered catalysis. Because platinum is a catalyst, it allows the methane to combine with oxygen at a much lower temperature than would normally be needed with ignition. Well, this is a very interesting observation. And in Germany, Johann Dobereiner, a chemist, read about this. And he came up with a brilliant idea. It was this. You know what that is? That is the world's first lighter. Before these days, if you wanted fire, you had to have a flintstone and tinder. But based upon the Davey observation, Dobereiner came up with this fascinating discovery. In here, there was a piece of zinc metal. You would pour some sulfuric acid into this container. That would react with the zinc to form hydrogen gas. The hydrogen gas would come up the top, and it would be focused on a piece of platinum. And because the platinum was a catalyst, it allowed the hydrogen to light, combined with oxygen of the air, without the need for ignition. And there was a flame, and then that flame could be used to light anything else. It was an amazing discovery, the world's first lighter. Well, a gentleman by the name of Berger heard about this. He was a French chemist, and he came up with this amazing little device that I showed you. It's called the Berger lamp, and on top it has a platinum wire. And there's a wick here that dips into an alcohol solution. You light it, and you blow out the flame. So there's really nothing to see except that when you blow out the flame, that platinum wire still continues to glow because it is acting as a catalyst, allowing the alcohol to combine with oxygen of the air. And the theory was that this lamp would destroy odors, smells in the air. And in those days, hospitals and mortuaries had terrible smells. And Berger said that this would control it. His idea was that that glowing platinum wire produced ozone, and ozone destroyed smells. That's kind of questionable. However, I think that the alcohol was scented, and that basically kind of neutralized the odors by masking them. Anyway, today these lamps are sold. And they have become collector's items with beautiful designs. So I'm not all that convinced about the efficacy of removing smells, but I really like these as a collector's item. And boy, you know, you take a look at this book. All of it is devoted to the Lampe Berger. There are hundreds of different lamps of this kind. I only have the one because it's not cheap to try to collect these. But I really appreciate this because of the science involved and because it is a throwback to one of the most famous lectures in the history of chemistry, Humphrey Davey, and his discovery. So now you know why I like to have this little science museum where I keep all kinds of interesting scientific curiosities that remind me of the history of chemistry.